to show you a video, and this is a video that we use to introduce tact planning for our Tact Fundamentals course. And it's so good, I want to introduce it to you tonight. So it might seem a little bit pitchy and silly, but hey, we've all got to make a living here, and I've got 11 kids to feed. So I'm going to go ahead and share it with you tonight.
In this video, I'm going to share with you the secret to creating your project's ideal construction schedule that anyone and everyone will be able to visually see, perfectly understand, and commit to and execute with one glance on one page. I'm talking about a plan that gets all trades and crews aligned and working together, that provides a backbone to your project, allowing the flow you need in your information systems, flow to materials, logistics, manpower, and in all areas of work on your job site. Schedules created by people just like the ones you're seeing on your screen right now. But hold on. Why even try this planning and scheduling technique? Well, right now, only 24% of construction projects finish on time. Mostly due to the standard bar and Gantt charts that have not been changed much in the past 60 years. This makes the work hard to understand, not reliable, and visible only to a few, causing projects to crash land, damage to our reputation, loss of profit, forcing us to work holidays, weekends, nights, more hours away from our family. And why? Because that's just the way we have always done things in construction. Until now. The secret is called tact planning. And here in this Tact Fundamentals training, you will learn how to stabilize your project, optimize the sequence of work, reduce manpower, limit work in process, lighten the load on the project team, allowing you to finish on or ahead of schedule. Taught by the leading tact experts in the United States who have managed hundreds of projects and billions of dollars with some of the top contractors in the nation with this process, and who literally wrote the book on tact planning. We are builders just like you who worked our way up through the trades and want to change this industry by sharing this process with you. So click sign up now or scroll down to learn more.
Did anybody else get chills while watching that? I got chills.
I was like, my wallet coming out of my pocket, Jason.
Hey, I felt your wallet coming out of your pocket at the same time. Oh man, I just love what I do. So this is a lot of fun. We at LeanTakt, and by the way, we partner up with Felipe Engineer and I for literally almost everything. Scrum and Tact, they're like peanut butter and jelly. They're like Sonny and Cher. They're like night and day, like anything that goes together. Any corny pairing that you can come up with, that's Scrum and Tact, man. In fact, Felipe will tell you that Tact is Scrum. So let me just tell you what Tact is first of all, so that we can be clear on that. So on this neat little YouTube channel here, we've got a number of really cool videos. We want you to come on here and subscribe. So we'll put that link in there. This is at 4:12. We've probably got 12 people on here. This should go to like 4:30 just tonight alone. So I'll put the link in here, but I'm going to show you one more really cool video. I'm going to do it at 1.25 times the speed because you're all sharp people. And I'm going to explain what tact planning is.
Tact is the German word for beat or rhythm, in reference to time or music. Like the metronome or conductor's baton, these both help musicians to keep the beat. This beat has a feel and flow to it. It's predictable. Some musicians feel and get in sync, or in the groove. So too, like in war, soldiers might march to a beat towards victory in a united way. This directly applies to construction. Each beat represents the next movement of scope, work, or trades. It's predictable and rhythmic. Imagine tact like a train with cars, which we call wagons. These wagons represent the beat in the time, like in music. Each time the metronome clicks, the train advances. Let's dive deeper into tact. A tact wagon represents one beat of the construction site. This is an amount of scope or scopes to be done in the tact time beat of the project. Work packages are the different scopes in the tact wagon. These do not have to be the same trade, but should represent crews with dedicated equipment. that can be in each Takt zone at the same time. These different work packages are notated in a legend showing which Takt wagon is correlated with what work package. These legends should also apply by Takt phase, so you might have multiple legends per your Takt plan, and should also be visual to help you see the work to be completed. A grouping of Takt wagons in one-piece flow is called a Takt train, and a group of similar Takt trains is called a Takt phase. Each Takt train represents a Takt zone, like level 1 area C, level 1 area D, and so on. Now let's talk about the most important part, Takt zones. These are the geographical areas and location on your project. Taking the plans, you figure out how it makes sense to break up the work. Looking at the scopes that are to be installed in each area and leveling the load of work by location is the key here. The idea is to create as much consistency as possible. In some cases, the perfect cookie cutter situation is not possible, but if flow is the goal, this is where you figure out how to break up the areas and have each trade move through these zones to the Takt time to create that beat and rhythm through the project. We're going to touch on roadblocks, as Takt does not work without a roadblock removal system. Roadblocks are the things that can create variation to the rhythm and block the flow. Identifying these things ahead and removing them is the key. The removal of these ahead of the train is akin to answering all questions that would arrive when trades are committed to the work in the make-ready planning phase. As Jason Schroeder likes to say, this allows the work to proceed clean and steady. We refer to constraints as items that constrain us overall that we usually are not moved by the team. These are big things that we don't really like to say day-to-day can be changed, like conditions of satisfaction or the end date and so on. I mean, they could change, but we don't start there. These are things that define the path we take to complete the project, which should be to achieve flow. The reason for a project team and foreman are to be ahead of the production and clear the roadblocks that will stop the train coming down the track. We provide the logistical time and planning support that the timbers and rails and everything needed ultimately for the trains or work to steadily move down the track, flowing like a beautifully orchestrated masterpiece. Takt allows your job site to look ahead and see the train coming down the tracks, clean and steady. Starts and stops indicate roadblocks that were not removed.
I really like that little intro video. I hope that wasn't too fast. Was it too fast, or was that just right? I hope it was just right.
It was just right. Kayla didn't even burn up, and she's in a fire right now. So
I love that. Well, let me tell you just something. This is a little video. I'm using all of my resources here tonight. One of the reasons that Takt planning works, and if you look at this format, you'll see that the columns are time, and you'll see that the rows are space. So I love the quote from Interstellar. And if anybody's ever watched that movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, you have to go on date night this weekend and watch Interstellar, an absolutely fantastic movie. Everyone loves Anne Hathaway. So you have to go watch that movie. But anyway, they talk about the 3 dimensions, right? What are the 3 dimensions? X, Y, and Z on a coordinate geometry system. What's the 4th dimension? And in the movie, they draw a little line and they say time. Everything. And if you watch the movie Lucy, which is a Jammin' video too, she says that time gives everything legitimacy, right? And so the 4 dimensions are X, Y, Z, which are location based, and then the 4th dimension of time. So the visualization of time and space. Scheduling comes down to the visualization of time and space. And so each one of these little cells here, if you look at this number 8, you can see that Takt zone number 5 for 8 starts on March 4th, because this is a time scale at the top. Each one of these numbers represents the Monday of that week. And so this little Takt, this individual little cell, represents the intersection of time and space. And so when you look at that number 8, you come over here to the legend and you can see what work fits in there. And this schedule, formatted this way, allows you to see workflow, trade flow, and logistical flow. And we'll talk about why that's important here in just a minute. So I'm going to fast forward my little presentation here. If you've ever read the book, This is Lean, and I highly recommend it. And by the way, I'm not bragging, but I'm kind of bragging. Felipe Engineer Manriquez and I, we know Nicholas Modig personally, and we've been on an island in the archipelago, and we have gone into a sauna together, mostly naked, and then jumped in the freezing water together, just so you know. So if you ever read the book, This is Lean, by Nicholas Modig, an international best-selling author. This is the concept he talks about. Up here on the top left, you can see a schedule with mostly trade flow. That means that each of these contractors have their own individual rhythm. So this one goes a little bit slower, this one goes a little bit faster, this one's slower. What's wrong with this? This is a rhetorical question I'm giving you, but if you answered that, you would say, well, there's all these efficiency gaps in here. And you would be right. And that would be a very intelligent answer by a college student that speaks up and is going to be a future CEO. So the second one, if you only have workflow, you don't see a lot of flow from trade to trade. You can see continuity within the area, but you see a lot of stacking. This up here on the top right is CPM at its finest, the critical path method. Traditional construction scheduling looks like this on the top right. Now at the bottom, but never at the bottom in our priority of scheduling systems, is Tact, where you have high levels of workflow and trade flow, where you have good continuity here within the area, and you can see the trades flowing from one area to the next. And so that is legitimately what we're looking for in construction. So let me fast forward just a little bit here in my little video resource, and I'm going to show you another diagram. We schedule tact plans on a rhythm. And so when you see this area up here, which might be area 1, area 2, area 3, area 4, we schedule it on a rhythm, a stagger. The starts have a stagger and a rhythm, and the ends have a stagger and a rhythm. And that allows us to have that consistent trade flow, which, although we don't have very much time, you'll see later. We attempt with tact planning to have really good continuity. That means work items are happening one after another within the areas, which allows for really good flow from a work perspective. But what tact planning really does, in addition to creating buffers, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is it levels the workload. So this is the biggest satanic lie in construction, right? I mean, the devil himself came up with this stupid lie, is that throwing manpower at projects will make them go faster. That is a lie. That will never be true. It has never been true. You need the right amount of manpower or woman power, whatever kind of power you're talking about, workers on site. You don't need to throw excess manpower, excess materials, excess money. They're only waste, and they will slow down projects. And we have superintendents and PMs all throughout the nation just throwing these things blindly and saying things like, oh, we want to have better production. Let me just throw people on it. And all they do, if you take Felipe Engineer Manriquez's Scrum class, is slow things down. So tact planning allows you to have a consistent rhythm where you see the packaged tasks within a time scale are consistent from time scale to time scale, and each one of them has a buffer within. And so that's one of the geniuses of tact planning, is it allows you to level the right amounts of manpower, materials, and information at the right times. But one of the best things about tact planning, which we'll also cover here in a minute, mathematically actually, and blow your university student minds just out of the water, is that you are able to create buffers. And so I don't know if I should, yeah, you know what, I'm going to show you this anyway. I was showing Felipe this. This is going to be my Thanksgiving post for Thanksgiving, and it's going to be from Elevate Construction. It'll be like, I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving, brought to you by tact planning. Because we in tact planning actually are able to create and maintain buffers, especially on times like Thanksgiving or Christmas. And that's because we plan for buffers in our schedules. And if you're using CPM, then we'll miss you this Thanksgiving. That's going to be our LinkedIn post for tomorrow. So if you see that, please hook me up. Please hook me up, because that's exactly what happens. If you're not able to gain buffers in your schedule system, then you're not going to finish on time. Day one. And so we will show you here in just a minute. In fact, I'm going to show you like right now how in tact planning you're able to gain buffers. And a buffer is a duration of time where you are able to do a very key task, a very specific thing, in order to finish on time. But I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to ask everybody in the audience, since everybody's on their cameras here, why would we want buffers in a scheduling system? Anybody? Unmute yourself and tell me, why would we want buffers? What do we use them for?
Everybody makes mistakes,
Oh, yeah.
and they're bound to happen. So it's good to have a buffer in case something unexpected happens.
Okay, Kayla is a future CEO and is going to be wildly successful in anything she ever does. That is a perfect, beautiful answer. You will always have interruptions in construction. So I want you to hear this from me forever and always. I want you to repeat it in your mind like 36 times so it's burned in. No schedule ever should be planned with a critical path, ever. If you hear in scheduling theory class, your professors are obligated to teach you these things, but if you ever hear of a critical path where you have activities in a schedule where if any one of them was delayed, you would delay the whole project because they have no float, that is the definition of insanity. Because we know that that string of activities in construction, if planned that way, as soon as there's a delay, you're behind schedule. So in order for us to absorb variation, mistakes, defects, things that are going to happen despite our best efforts. And if we want to be, like Felipe says, nimble to owner requests, to change things, to take care of an owner need or a request, we need to have those buffers to be able to adapt and to use systems like Scrum in the overall and the short interval basis. So I wanted to make sure that that's 100% clear, that we embrace systems like Last Planner, Scrum, Tact planning, specifically so that we can come and create these buffers. So there's another video that I'll take you to. Ooh, actually, let's do this real quick. I'm going to take you to my channel, the YouTube channel, and I'm actually going to put it here in the chat. So if anybody's nodding off, you can just go ahead and subscribe. So we're at 4:12. We need to be at like 4:30 by the time this class is done. If you don't mind. And if you do mind, please just do it anyway. So I'm going to show you one more video that's going to blow your socks off. This is how we—
Do you own your home in Arizona, but still rent your electricity?
And if you own
If
your
you
home
pay
here.
more than $50.
Little's Law is a mathematical production law. In manufacturing and other industries, Dr. John Little found that WIP, or work in progress, TP, or throughput, and L, for lead time, were all correlated. We can translate this to a single Takt sequence in construction by translating these to TW for Takt wagons in process, TT for Takt time, TD, or Takt duration. There's a simple correlation between each of these, and to make sure we are being clear, this simple correlation is for a single Takt phase like this, meaning for one Takt zone or production area as shown here. Let's now use Little's Law to calculate the Takt time. For a single Takt phase, you need to know the number of Takt wagons. Here we have 6. Let's say that we know the duration of each of these from a pull plan or collaboration meeting, and that each of these Takt wagons or grouping of work packages add up to a total of 18 days. With that simple information, we can take the duration and divide it by the number of wagons. It gives you your Takt time. That makes sense. You would have an average of 3 days for each Takt wagon. Now, Takt wagon 1 and 5 have a duration of 4. So can you increase these bottlenecks production? Maybe, maybe not. You might not be able to. You might have to go back to a Takt time of 4 to account for the bottlenecks. In the same way, you can use this formula to find any of these variables if they are unknown. If you knew your production or Takt time duration is 5 days, and that you have 6 Takt wagons, you might do simple math to get 30 days. Makes sense? To find the Takt wagons in process, you would need to know the Takt time, which is 3 days in this example, and the train duration of 15 days. Now, honestly, in construction, doing this calculation isn't helpful because we will most likely not start with these as known variables.
So real quick, if everybody's confused, good, because I don't even understand this. But at the beginning of this video, what we're attempting to show you is there's some magical math behind all of this. Now, this is where it gets good. Go ahead and hold on and get some popcorn.
But you can see how these 3 concepts are now correlated. But the problem is that in construction, we have many trains all going at the same time. And Dr. Little didn't account for this, because unlike manufacturing, our people and equipment move through the product and not the other way around. So we need to take into account multiple Takt sequences, and each sequence is represented by a Takt zone, like you see here. The zones are the batch sizes. Thus, we need to add something to our production vocabulary. Takt sequences. 2 Takt experts from Germany, Janosch Dooley and Marco Binner, have taken Little's Law and translated it to the first of its kind,
By the way, not to name drop, but Felipe and I know these people too.
a construction production law,
And they're
what we
awesome.
call Julian Bittner's Law. The calculation is tact wagons plus tact sequences minus 1 times by the tact time equals the tact phase duration. Let's see how this correlates and set up a matrix of tact wagons, sequences, tact time, and duration so you can see how this works and how this will help us. Let's take a simple tact phase where there are 5 tact wagons with only 2 sequences. We would have 5 plus 2, which equals 7, minus 1, which equals 6, times 5 equals 30 days. This is what this would look like as a tact plan, with light blue, yellow, purple, green, and red as our tact wagons. For a simple rough-in stage, as you can see here in the legend on the far right, you can clearly see how the 2 sequences total an overall duration of 30 days. Now let's take the number of sequences and double them to see what changes here. So we would still have 5 tact wagons, but now 4 tact sequences. You would still have the -1 as a constant, and now your tact time is split in half, meaning 2.5. But we probably wouldn't work in half days, so let's round that up to 3 days, which when we do the math comes to 24 days, meaning by making our batch sizes or tact zones smaller, it cuts down our overall duration by 6 days. One thing I want to point out is that each process actually has more overall time. Let's look at the light blue. It goes from day 1 to day 10, while on the second tact plan, it goes from day 1 to day 12. This is because there's 4 sequences. So with 2 extra days, overall the duration is 6 days less, but each trade gets 2 days more. This is the magic of tact planning and production laws. So one might say, hey, well, can we split it down even further and get even more savings? Let's try it out. Going from 4 to 8 tact zones would take our tact time from 3 for 4 sequences down to 1.5, because you would cut that in half again. 1.5 again is not something that we would want to schedule. So let's round up to a tact time of 2. This would give you 24 days overall, meaning in every system with how many wagons and sequences and the different tact times, there is a point of diminishing return. This is what the third option would look like. It would make more work with little to no return. But let's try it again with 6 tact sequences and see if there's anything else we can do. Our tact time would be something like 1.8, so we would round up to 2 days for our tact time again, and give us a 20-day overall duration. This phase of work, if managed with 6 tact sequences, can be achieved in 20 days. The difference between 30 days for the original 2 sequences and 20 days for 6 sequences can either be time saved or added back throughout the tact plan as buffer management. We'll have a whole nother video on that. But now,
So that's really the aha moment, is that when you go into construction management, you know, if you chose to make $260,000 a year base after 16 years versus 85,000, right? If you choose to go into construction management, I'm just teasing, don't be mad. Like, so you would be able to create schedules that weren't just naturally wasting time, right? We can optimize these sequences. And that's what I think is absolutely brilliant about this system. And so I'll just go ahead and show you in one of our fundamentals courses, we have this little summary, this little image that I like to use. And if you have delays, and let me just pull these back here real quick for you. If you have a delay in a CPM schedule where you have a critical path, where you have a critical chain of activities all the way to the end, and there's a delay, we're going to see together what happens versus actually planning with Tact where you have inherent buffers. And I know you already know this, but just humor me for a minute. So you have a delay in a CPM system. Guess what? You're already behind schedule. You have a delay in a tacted system. Guess what? You do not have an automatic delay, because with that delay you were able to eat into one of the buffers. Oh, guess what? What happens when you have another delay in a CPM schedule? Oh, wait, let's go ahead and freak out and run around screaming naked into the woods like we have our hair on fire. Or you can use a tacted system with Scrum and Last Planner and actually just eat into your buffers. The problem is there's so many interdependencies inside scheduling systems. You have to be able to move that sequence and eat into those buffers. And so that's one of the main genius concepts. Again, sorry about that, is that you're able to actually eat into those buffers, and you can create those within the wagons or at the end. And so I'm going to take you through just a little, a really neat presentation, and I'll give you a warning. And I think I'm on time here, Felipe. How much time do I have? I'm showing that I've got, When do I need to finish, Felipe?
I don't know. I was going to ask Andrew because Andrew looked responsible.
Yeah, Andrew
We
looks
can
responsible.
we can go for another 7 to 10 minutes, Jason.
Okay, so I'm going to finish sooner than that. So because Felipe's presentation is the jam shizzle. So tact planning, this is a system where you can plan and prevent delays versus react. And I'm going to ask you a question. Whose nasty old toilet is this? And we'll answer that in just a minute. And for those of you who have weak constitutions or sensitive stomachs, maybe don't look at it for too long. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is what a male bathroom, a men's bathroom in the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, what it actually looks like. Now, if you have never had the privilege of peeing as a male, I will tell you from firsthand experience, you can pee over here, over here, over here, 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 and still end up with a puddle on the floor. It's an absolute disaster. In fact, you'll see I'm wearing black shoes in this picture, and I'm fully clothed, by the way, so nobody can get me in trouble. But I used to wear flip-flops because I grew up in California. But the first time I peed on my feet is that was the last time I wore flip-flops to an airport.
Yeah.
And so one morning I got to the urinal and I'm like, oh, there's no puddle of urine on the floor. What's going on? Maybe they figured this out. And I looked at my watch after going to the bathroom and washing my hands. I looked at my watch and it was 4:30. And I realized I was the first one to use it. So I was really sad. So we have a problem here. So this is where we need your input, students. What would the manufacturer of this toilet say is the problem? Just unmute yourself and tell me what they would say.
They'd say you're the problem.
They would say we're the problem. Standing up while peeing. I get this. You know, honestly, men would be a lot better off if we would just sit in the toilet and pee. Well, we'd probably still mess that up. But anyway, they would blame us. They'd say you're using it wrong. But I swear unto thee with an oath before God, angels, and these witnesses, you can pee anywhere at any distance at any angle on this thing and still end up with pee splashing back at you. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's you think to yourself, like, I hope our doctors don't act this way. Like this is mediocrity at its finest. And then Felipe Engineer Manriquez and I saw this toilet at Houston Hobby Airport, and we went in and he caught me taking a picture of
True
this
story.
urinal. Yeah, true story. I think he was concerned for my well-being, like I was taking a picture of somebody else or myself and in not so good ways, but I was actually taking a picture of the toilet because guess what? There's no mess at the bottom. There's no mess. And I was in a line. There's probably at least 15 people ahead of me.
At least.
And there's no puddle. So what is going on here? They fixed the process and they stopped blaming the people. Back here, they didn't fix the process. They blamed the people. On this one, they fixed the process and they stopped blaming the people. So let's tie that to construction scheduling. In construction, we typically have these 76-page master schedules that are not color coded, that are so long and complex that the person creating them still don't understand what's going on, that nobody reads. And essentially, the only good thing about this is if you ever run out of toilet paper, you can use a construction schedule to wipe yourself. So this is typically what we see in construction. And then we print out and dictate to trade partners who know what they're doing, and we don't. We dictate to them a schedule with all these little X's that are, again, not color coded, dictating what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. And that produces this. So this image right here is a CPM schedule that was filtered out with a flow analysis. And this flow analysis shows by color trades. So there's an attempt at flow, a little bit over here. Ooh, where did I go? Somebody's messing my screen. Okay. And then you see the blue, it goes forward, back, down, forward, back, over, back, down, straight down, back, over, forward. There's no trade flow in this schedule. And this is why projects in construction crash land, is because they create a critical path when the people start faking the logic and they start stacking work at the end, and it's impossible to accomplish and we're screwed. And so on this project, they were at least 8 weeks behind when they called me in, and they were heading even worse. And we simulated what it would take to create a flow, and we created a tact plan. Right there, the visualization of time and space, we're able to see workflow, trade flow, logistical flow. At the end of this project, getting them on a rhythm, putting them on a $0 change order, and making the modifications where we created stability and leveled out the workers, the workload, and the materials and the information. They finished a week ahead of schedule with 0 defects. And I can show you the letter, 0 defects, meaning there's no punch list. And the team all stayed. 33% of them got promotions to their next level. And the owner gave them, yes, I said that in English, gave them the next project, and it was a hospital tower in Scottsdale. And that's what happens. So we recovered that project from an absolute crash landing. So I'm almost done. The key thing with Takt planning is you're able to create buffers, but you're able to create buffers because you're able to optimize those 3 types of flow: workflow, trade flow, and logistical flow, which you can see here. The last example that I'll give you is in this circle. I want you all to tell me, just scream it out. When do we have a problem with this circle? When does this go awry? Which you actually spell AWRY. I didn't know that for a long time. But anyway, when does this go awry?
Oh, I know this one, but I'm gonna let someone else take it. I'm a traffic engineer, so or I'm an intern, so like this is exactly my gig. But somebody else take it.
That's her jizzle or her jam jizzle right there, Jason.
Jam shizzle. Right
Jam
there.
shizzle. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know all the vernacular, Jason.
Okay, so you see this interruption? Everybody experiences it, especially if you're on the West Coast, every morning when they attempt to drive to work. You know, Felipe and I loved in Germany, you could just take the subway or whatever you call it over there, basically the train and a bicycle everywhere. But we have a mess here and it never gets better. So traffic engineer or not, what would we have to do to recover this? Somebody tell me. The last class got it in 11 seconds. Can you beat them? Somebody tell me, what would we have to do to reset these people in a flow? 6.
White.
Would you need to have them all go at the same speed?
That was amazing. Future CEO right there. They all need to go the same speed. What else would they have to do? One more thing.
Maintain the same distance.
Holy fornicate. That is absolutely the right answer right there. In order to get back on track, what they're doing right now before they have the interruption, they're going the same speed, the same distance apart. And as soon as you see that interruption right there with the white car and the blue car, they get out of rhythm because they stop going the same speed and they stop going the same distance apart. So if we were going to recover this, that's what they would have to do. And so my point, and the reason that I love Takt planning, we wrote this killer book over here, is that Takt planning has everybody going the same speed at the same distance apart, and it creates that stability and rhythm. So my closing argument before I leave is that Takt planning is amazing because it stabilizes and it's inherently faster, but it also allows you to optimize the sequence and gain buffers and live a normal, happy, successful life in construction instead of burning yourself out, losing your family, getting a divorce, ignoring your kids, missing Johnny's baseball game, having a heart attack at 36 and not enjoying what you do. If we're going to make $260,000 to $380,000 a year as construction managers, we might as well have some fun. And Takt planning and Scrum are the way to get there. On we go.
Yeah. Oh, Jason. That was awesome. And I'm bringing up mine. And I can see we've got, I love that we went, we spent the right amount of time getting everybody to get their cameras on. That was value added time, in my opinion. So in the Zoom, we have dropped this link where you can follow me on all of these beautiful platforms, such as the Tick and the Talk, Andrew. Yeah, I said it again. I said it twice. The Tick and the Talk, also known as TikTok. But we've got some YouTube videos as well. Podcast. Jason's got a podcast. He's got his views up there. I'm going to kick it off with why you would even want to consider listening to more of what Jason and I are telling you. And 1 out of 6 people in the world actually work in construction. So let's hear from a superintendent, Joe Damaruno, author of The Lean Builder, also superintendent at Cook Children's Building.
Have you met people, having somebody go from skeptical to engaged?
Hold up, time out. I've worked for my company for 25 years. I've never missed a CO date. I've made my company a boatload of money. My client loves me. Why the heck should I listen to anything you're talking about? Why should I change the way that I run work in the field? Okay, design drawings aren't the same as what they used to be 30 years ago. We got skilled labor issues. We have labor shortages in general. You got 5 generations in the workforce. You have trade partners who are managing this labor shortage, skilled labor shortage. So oftentimes they're being spread too thin. They show up to the projects. Oftentimes the GC's the one printing the documents off for the trade partners. And again, it's not a knock, but they just don't have the time. You have all these different communication styles now. And is it, to me, I kind of start there and I'm like, our industry's broken.
Yes, it is.
Last year was nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity today to learn something afresh. My name is Felipe Engineer. As you heard, I am the author of Construction Scrum. You can go to constructionscrum.com, get your hands on a copy of that bad boy for free if you've got Kindle Unlimited. And you can sign up for Kindle Unlimited free for 30 days, get the book, read the book in the weekend, and then unsubscribe from Kindle Unlimited. And you've gotten the knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. So don't give me the excuse that the book's too expensive, because it can be absolutely free. And we're going to have an audible version coming out soon. So I am the National Director of Lean Construction at McCarthy Building Companies, also a registered Scrum trainer by Scrum Incorporated, Dr. Jeff Sutherland's company. My passions are Scrum, Last Planner System, and of course, Jason, Tact. Because come on now, Tact is amazing. So let's jump into an example. This is Mr. Josh Kryler, superintendent at this project. And he says, Felipe, my project's going to crash. We're not going to make it. We've got to do something different. He's like, I'm already using Scrum. We're already using Last Planner System. We need something else to stabilize and go more long-term. So I said, Josh, it's okay. We have the answer. Tact Planning and Integrated Control by Mr. Jason Schroeder with Spencer Easton. And so they try it. Immediately, he builds upon Last Planner System. We don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We keep doing the good things to help set up the right flow, the right trade involvement in, and then he builds this Tact plan with trade partner collaboration, saves immediately nearly 4 months off the schedule. Mr. Michael McCullough, president at Corrigan Company Mechanical Contractors, calls me and says, Felipe, this project is changing our lives. We are saving so much money on this job that we are now able to increase and improve our prefabrication to new levels. Otherwise, we never thought possible. And this Tact plan is so beautiful that I even have it hanging in my office. This is just the picture that Josh has at the site. Look at Josh looking at this picture like a proud father, Jason. You see that? Those proud father eyes looking at that Tact plan. And then so Josh is also a registered Scrum Master by Scrumming, trained by yours truly, me, ladies and gentlemen. And he's using Scrum to help his team get those bottlenecks out of the roadway, as Jason showed in the video. They've got a backlog of things that need to do things they're doing in the near term, doing one thing at a time, and then things that they get done so they can see. And then here to the left, we have a work plan, a weekly work plan that helps the teams on multiple floors on this 10+ story building handle all of the different areas and phases and raising constraints that we call the weekly work plan in Last Planner System speak, which you might call in CPM scheduling the near-term, short-term schedule, but it is not the same thing. We're using Toyota Production System principle number 7 because we are borrowing from manufacturing, software, and all industries to elevate and make construction come into the 21st century like a boss, because it's now the time to make things visible. They've just taken their drawings and put them on the backsides of glass in their big room where they have their owner architect meetings and planning meetings, and they marker them up so that they can communicate with high reliability and problem solving. We're also using a Keep It Clean, Keep It Safe program, 5S, which is in English, borrowed from Henry Ford's system when he was creating the Flow production system. And we love Flow, don't we, Jason? We do love Flow. Jason loves it. We've got just in time. CAN do is an acronym that stands for cleaning up, arranging, neatness, discipline, and ongoing improvement. It goes on forever, correlates to the 5 Japanese words that are translated that I'm not going to cover here because I just gave you the English synonyms. It's all good. Those are some of the things. Bonus Scrum. Oh my goodness. Didn't even know it happened. Dr. Jeff Sutherland invented Scrum over 2 decades ago, and he wants to free the world from the impressive ways that have become entrenched in today's Western management style. Let's give the power back to the people, raise the creativity, and allow people to freely flow through the work they deliver every single day. This project is multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're operating several different Scrum teams. They do actually have two Scrum Masters on this project, and there'll be more to come. And so I'll show you what Scrum is, but it could just be as simple as starting a to-do, doing, done. Work on one thing at a time. Get that one piece flow, because that's how you get the confetti, people. You don't do it by multitasking. Multitasking is a straight lie, almost as bad as telling you that there is only one critical path to a job. If you've ever been sued, or when you talk to your construction law professor, you'll learn that there are many ways to get sued, but all of them are non-value add, so don't do it. Do one thing at a time. Swarm with your team members when you need to. I'm going to define Scrum right now so you can see it. It's a lightweight framework that helps people deliver value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. I can summarize the entire thing in this little drawing. This simple drawing. Let's start with the beginning. Somebody has a reason that this team is working together. We will call that the goal. We will use the goal to filter and operate all the things that we're going to do over the course of time. We call that time the sprint. And when I come out of this view, I can absolutely get dangerous with it and even drop even more confetti. So let me drop some confetti, because now we have a filter. We make a backlog or a wish list. We call it product backlog in Scrum. We use that filter to bring forward the most highest prioritized valuable things for the team to work on. The product owner is the person on the team that owns what the team delivers. They also are working close with the customer, and they represent the voice of the customer often. That person will also be a team member. The team member, or the squad, as they call themselves at Spotify, will work during this sprint cycle. As you saw in Jason's examples, those Takt wagons can sit on 5-day cycles. He showed you examples of 4-day cycles, 3-day cycles, 2-day cycles, even 1.5, they rounded up to 2 for extra credit if you're remembering. Well, let's say we're going to sprint on a 5-day cycle. Every single day, the Scrum Master or the team captain serves the team in the daily Scrum, helping to let the people get credit for the value they deliver today, what they're working on tomorrow, and surface any roadblocks or constraints. And at the end of that cycle, they go to that cash money box, or as they say in Phoenix, Arizona, cash. And they review the value that they've delivered and then get feedback from the client for what that is. You can also use it in school. Like, I use this to get my master's of business administration. I took every syllabus from every professor and I broke it down into the backlog, and I brought forward the things I needed to do right now while working full time at a construction company and traveling multiple cities every single week, and still deliver value to myself, learning, transforming information, and sometimes material or combinations of both with my peers, and in Scrum with design construction professionals. In the retrospective meeting, the final meeting in Scrum, we'll review what went well, what could be better, the deltas, how fast are we going? So the Scrum Master can help this cycle improve and get better every single time. Don't be stingy with the confetti, they say. Let that confetti drop down. Is the power of Scrum. Now we'd like to show all of you that the entire thing has just been Scrum the entire time. You just got Scrum septed. We had our Scrum here that we started with. You had to first understand the power of Scrum and all the things that are possible and what can be done when you apply the right systems at the right time. And Scrum is one of those beautiful frameworks, like scaffolding for a building. it can be modified and changed to suit exactly what you need at exactly the time you need it to serve the people so that you too can smile and wave like Josh. Thank you, Josh. He's smiling. Thank you, Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time of the presentation where we absolutely want you to start jamming down with us and telling us what questions do you have. And you've got that link from me, and we definitely had the class before you did a fantastic job of helping Jason and I with our YouTube subscribership, and we ask that you bring that same value to us. If you found this valuable so that you can use it in school now or your professional career, phone a friend and tell them that there are these beautiful resources free of charge, no cost obligation to benefit, practice, and we'll even help people that phone us. You have our contact information. And Andrew is my witness. Do we answer the call, Andrew, when you guys ask us for help? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So don't be shy. Let's get those YouTube subscribership to go up. You can't let Jason have more subscribers than me right now. That would just be
Sorry.
so also go to my channel and let's raise that back up, because Jason, I think we just tied for subscribers right now tonight.
Oh really? 422?
Yeah, I think we just, oh no, you're ahead of me then.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay, Jason. You are remarkable. You deserve every subscriber. Oh, Kayla says I'm at 422 also. Yay!
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, can I say something while everybody's thinking about their questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Scrum, and I'm going to attempt to draw this. No, I'm not going to attempt. Screw that. I'm going to draw this.
Just draw.
So,
Don't be about it. Don't threaten it. Do it.
I agree. Scrum will tell you that you need to do, and Felipe can talk about this more, but you need a system of creating certain milestones from an overall project approach, right? And within that, you use that agile framework to make sure that you're getting that work done within these sprints up into those milestones. And so Scrum really incorporates this the long term and the short term. But I want to show you why. What's that, Felipe?
I said I love that. You're getting points for that right now.
Yeah. I want to show you why Tact fits right within that Scrum system. Tact creates a drumbeat as a backbone within that entire Scrum framework as a tool, like I said, peanut butter and jelly. And then what Scrum does is it aligns to that backbone. It pulls everything in that direction. So Scrum talks a lot about how to manage those sprints, but Scrum also talks about the entire system. So when Felipe says Tact is Scrum and Scrum is Tact, and God is love and love is God, like that's real, right? But I want to blow your minds with something. When you hear the concept of pull a lot in Lean, okay, you hear that a lot, but it's not just pull. There's actually three concepts that we have to deal with. One is flow, okay, pull, and push. And people do all three of those things. And we need to stop pushing. We need to flow where we can and pull when we can't perfectly flow. And so my point is, in the Toyota production system, people think that once this car part or this part of the assembly line is done, that this one pulls this one in. Actually, Toyota doesn't work like that, and neither does BMW. And Felipe and I have seen this firsthand. If there is a line of cars that are going through an assembly line at BMW, it's on a takt time. It actually has a rhythm. And so that's a flow system. And this is the same, and Taiichi Ono talks about it in his book, Toyota Production System. It says Taiichi Ono Toyota Production System. He talks about it in that book. So if there's a motor that has to come into this assembly line for the car, do they assemble the motor right here on the line? Yes or no? Somebody tell me. No.
No.
They pre-assemble it and they pull it to the line, to the tacted line, and that is what is pull. So the main line flows and all of the other items pull. And so that's what this whole Scrum system is attempting to say, is that you have to have your overall long-term, and then you have to be pulling information, materials, manpower here at the right time, which is where the Scrum short interval planning cycles come in. And so I hope this is I'm making this clear. If we have a project and there's a rhythm to it, then we need to align materials, manpower, information, equipment, permissions, costs, everything aligns to that rhythm. And so that's how the systems tie together. And I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, because I think that's super cool. So let's go on to questions.
Yeah, we are ready for your questions, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring up some thoughtful question music. You can use the chat to ask your questions. I know it's been a long day and you're looking at the clock and you're thinking to yourselves like, man, is it already 8:17 at night? Yeah, it is. But you're not going to leave until you ask us a question, because you've got a chance to know something today. Like, is that Felipe's real hair? It is. It's my real hair. What's left of it. That's what happens after you have a kid. So, yeah, Jason is absolutely that good looking.
How much do construction professionals make?
Yeah, how much do construction professionals make? That's a great question.
What is the best advice for a entry-level position?
Yeah, for college-bound students, you're going to be approaching the just under the 100K mark to start. And if you learn things like Scrum, Tact, and Last Planner system, you will be like all the people that Jason and I work with. You'll be quickly promoted and be running large and in charge, multi-$100 million projects and larger. We had an employee, Jason, Brenda, that I don't think you've met her yet. She was only 2.5 years into her career before she was running a $2 billion project, pre-construction, almost by herself. And then they didn't want to embarrass everybody else. They had to bring more people in, but she could have Scrummed the whole thing. Just handled it like a boss, because that's what you can do with Scrum. So here we go. We got a question here. Anthony with the first question in the chat. Thank you so much, Anthony. That was perfect timing. Let's get the construction music up. Jason, I think this question is probably for you. Take that one.
What is it? Right.
It says, Jason, how do you account for construction changes mid-project? Like something that was brought up and added to the project in the middle of the construction phase. A little thing we like to call the change order.
All right, I can tell you this, and this is a jam shizzle right here. Ooh, actually, I'm going to share my stinking screen.
Share it.
That's how I roll.
And thank you for that question, Anthony. We do have answers for that.
We do have answers for that. And Felipe is going to have, once I give you an answer, Felipe is going to have an even better answer. And then we're just going to keep going. And we're going to go again and again and again. And you're going to want to watch it over and over and over. All right. So real quick, this is one of my best favorite Tact quotes. Tact planning will not fix your problems, but it will show them to you. Right. So you do want to know the truth, right?
Right.
You do want to see what's actually going on. Actually, let me get, what the heck? So
just shut my truck down. So,
this is a roadblock map, and this is one of my favorite ones. Oh, I hit share instead of present. All right, so right here, damn it. Okay, right here, there's a roadblock map. This is in Bluebeam, one of the best softwares ever made. Excel and Bluebeam are right up there on my list. I have a Bluebeam pillow that I sleep with at night and cuddle.
Oh, that's cool. That's bonus information for you all students.
You can take every floor plan on your building, and you can create an object, a polygon, and you can set a status which has a color, and you can match those colors to your tact wagons, and you can status these drawings to match the tact wagon progress. And what we do is we make sure that the entire system is following the tact plan. And when it doesn't, if there's an owner change, it's all about transparency. Remember, Tact will not solve your problems, but it will show them to you. So this down here is a real life job. I was a project superintendent on this project, and the owner changed the normal, grid ceiling into this ACT2 type ceiling. They were like 2x5 grid patterns. They were the the ones that came out and covered the actual grid ceiling, you had to wear white gloves. They were special order. It's a nasty ceiling system. But anyway, the owner changed it. And so we immediately highlighted this in red. We paused the progress from the tracking standpoint. And we said, Mr. and Mrs. Owner, we have a problem here. We need to address this. And this is what we did. We told everybody and on the job who would be tempted to whine and complain, well, there's changes, blah, blah, blah. No. Everybody forget about that. You keep going on the normal work. Well, what about it? No, you keep going. Well, wait a minute. What about, no. You guys just keep going. Don't pay attention to those red boxes. And we had a separate crew with separate foremen manage those change areas. And they were, if we could fit them into the schedule, finished on time. But if we knew that we couldn't fit them, we detached them from the schedule and we were transparent with the owner immediately. Now, here's the big secret to construction. Most of the time when people say, well, owners won't let you, or they won't accept this, or I can't talk to them, 80% of the time it's BS. Owners are realistic as long as it's visual and as long as you can do this with them in a partnership. And so we mark it in red and we say, okay, we can scrum this. And I'm being serious because that's what you do. You take that red area and you go to a strictly scrum system. You get that thing done as fast as you can. And you have a separate crew outside of the rhythm focus on it. And if you can finish on time, you do. And if you can't, you let that owner know. And so with Tact, you either eat into a buffer or you detach it from the system. But the most important thing is that you will immediately know there's a problem and you communicate that visually to the owner and you implement a plan that everybody can follow together. And that is the secret. Felipe, what would you add to that?
I would only add to that is that you would definitely check your contract schedule, check your contract to see what your language is for changes, because you might have unit rates. You still need to make a decision as a team to say, like Jason said, do we stop, disrupt the entire train and do this thing? Some changes require that type of interruption, disruption, or do we jump over it and then come back with separate crews? That is the ideal best thing. In Scrum, we tell each other that the only thing in the world that is guaranteed is change. And so we tell our owners that you can change absolutely anything you want, whenever you want, so long as you understand that change, you're going to pay for it. And so that's right. If we're going to be honest with them about, get some more registers going. We're going to be honest with our client and have those conversations about that change, because a lot of times they are not following the schedule, Anthony, like you are when you're boots on the ground, or even on design teams. They're not following that design schedule, so they don't know day to day what the impact of this change is. So you've got to bring them into the fold on here's where we are, and even more powerfully show them like where we are in the design, or walk the project so they can see it, rather than just like doing the passive aggressive email or a letter, or just keeping your mouth shut and trying to handle it.
Yeah,
don't do that. Yeah, raise your hand, ask for help, escalate, elevate.
Yeah, baby.
Be remarkable.
Would you guys say those are the weaknesses? I mean, you guys said earlier, nothing is perfect, right?
That's right. Nothing is perfect.
Nothing is perfect. What are the weaknesses in your program or in everything, right?
The first weakness, Nancy.
I mean, like one of the weaknesses. I mean,
yeah, one of the weaknesses is that when you learn, so now you've seen Jason show you Tact, you're going to think you might be able to understand it. In order to really understand it, we're going to do this like big phrase that I borrowed from Jeff, empirical process control. It's fancy speak for that you learn by having real experiences. So watching us do this is one thing. Doing it yourself is a complete other. We highly recommend go to the website, download the resources, try to build a Tact plan, go to my videos, go to my book, download all the resources for the book are free. Try to do a Scrum for yourself. You're going to be at least 5 steps ahead. So one of the weaknesses that happens is this unconscious bias where you're going to make the false assumption, as so many people that learn lean construction or agile, you're just going to assume that people will follow you and know that this is the way to go. They will absolutely not follow you. You've got to show them the way and onboard them so they come with you. Start with the problem, help make people's lives better, by giving them some value first. That's one of the big weaknesses, because even if you do Takt poorly, you'll still be faster than any CPM schedule. Even if you do what Jeff calls fake Scrum, you'll still do better than traditional project management, waterfall scheduling and planning. So even half bad will be better.
So what are the personal strengths you need to have?
So
I didn't get to do my part of the answer.
do your part of the answer, Jay.
Okay, so real quick, I agree with Felipe. You can't do Scrum and screw it up. Scrum at its worst is Kanban, and Scrum at its best is Scrum. So,
I'm getting that on a postcard for Christmas, Jason.
So from a Tacted system, this is what everybody messes up. And even if you do mess this up, you end up better off. But if you attempt to fit a Takt plan into a 5-day Takt cycle, where Sunday and Saturday are your buffers, and you attempt to keep it within the weekends, if you over program this with work, meaning your Mondays fold up, your Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays fold up, Friday, and you hit a delay, then what starts to happen is you'll get off rhythm, because the first week you have a delay, you'll eat into Saturday. And then next week your crews are already stretched. And so now you have another delay, and now you eat into Monday. And then it just starts to ripple. God dang chairs. Get out of my way. Okay. So then the other thing is, if it keeps going, then it will start eating, and you get off rhythm, and people will panic. So one of the biggest problems with Takt in our industry in the United States is that people love the weekends as the Takt time counts or drum beats. And if you're going to do that, you have to have Takt wagons that are not packed full, meaning you have to have buffers in here, like maybe even half a day on Friday, that can absorb some variation, so that you can stay between the Sunday and Saturday. So when people don't make it work with Takt, I usually see them doing this, where they want a 5-day Takt time between the weekends, and they start getting out of rhythm. And so, like I said, to counteract that, usually in trainings, and I did this in Mexico, I wanted people to be open to other Takt times than 5, and to sometimes, at least when they're starting, ignore the weekends, right? And to not package it too much if they were going to use the 5-day Takt time between the weekends. It can be problematic.
Absolutely. We don't want 100% resource maximization. 100% capacity of resources is false anyway. But that's what happens in CPM schedules. When people look at those crew durations and times, they're assuming 100% resource efficiency. So when people look out into the site or look at the engineering teams, they want to see heads down, drawing, detailing, 100% of 8+ hours a day, which is not respect for people. So that's a major fail on many, and even a lot of consultants get that wrong. As Jason showed you with Takt, and I'm showing you with Scrum, you can increase your throughput, or you can actually speed up by working less and doing less things at the same time. If you eliminate multitasking, if you forget everything I said, just remember my last name is actually Engineer. Plus, remember that we said limit work in progress. This is counterintuitive, and people will fight you. People will fight you. They're like, because they'll recognize that you're lowering the amount of work people have to do.
Sorry.
That's you, Jason. It's like, but when you lower the amount of work people have to do, that's for you, Jason. Bless you. Bless you, Jason.
Thank you.
When you lower the work down, and you come away from 100% resource of maximization, you'll actually increase the throughput, and the total construction duration will decrease, or design duration will decrease, which means you're getting done faster. With Scrum, often when people stop doing multitasking, you'll often double your productivity in the first Scrum cycle, the first sprint cycle. It's crazy. It just happened to me as a project manager. I was like, twice the work and half the time. Yeah, right. Week 1, I doubled my throughput in week 1. Jason, you got some more chartage there. It looks like we got some more curious looking faces, Jason.
Well, I love your answer, and I was listening to all of it. The biggest mindset to your question, what is the biggest strength you have to have? You have to be somebody that plans and prepares. And I'm like that. Some people are procrastinators. And if you're a procrastinator, you're not going to do well in construction management. You'll do well on the business development side because you'll procrastinate and get all those creative juices and then work all night and have the best product at the end of the night. But it doesn't work well with scheduling. So in tact planning, if you have too much buffer, you're just wasting time, right? I don't know. You can't see. You're just wasting time. If you have too much packed into the tact time, you're pushing and you're going to get out of the rhythm. The key idea here is to have the right cycle time with the right amount of buffers in an optimized sequence. And this is the difference. People will tell you that in a pull system, you would, once you're done with this one, you would immediately start this one right behind it. But in a tacted system, it would be like, nope, follow that drum beat. And the biggest mindset shift to answer your question is, what do we do in this space? If you ask 100% of the industry, what do you do with that space right there? They would say, start the next activity. But I would say, finish, quality control your work, prepare the next area, train your people. This is what we should be doing. If we don't spend these buffer times doing this, we will continue to install crap work that we just have to redo later. And so that's why I like flow systems that are optimized, not too much waste and not too close together, to where when this activity is done, that crew stops, they sweep their area, they move their gang box, they QC their items, they punch list it, they walk the inspectors through, they snap out their lines, they stage their materials for the next area, they make sure to prepare their QC checklist, and they train their workers, and they ask themselves, how can I go even better and faster and more enjoyably on this end, which is again that sprint retrospective, right? How can I do this one better instead of, oh, we're done, let's go ahead and start the next thing. And I'll close out with this. How would you guys like it in the university if you finished an assignment early and the professor was like, okay, because you finished early and you're responsible and you did a good job, now your next assignment starts 2 days earlier and it's due 2 days earlier? You'd be like, what? Why would I do that? Why would I finish these things early? That's not right. You would be in hell in the university if that happened. You would be punished. You would be punished for your diligence, and you would be incentivized to procrastinate. And so when we push activities, just stack them right on top of each other, it's the same thing. We de-incentivize them from doing a good job. We don't give them time to breathe. We don't give them time to improve. We don't give them time to finish. We don't give them time to QC. We don't give them time to stage their materials. So the biggest mindset shift in construction is to use that time to get ahead of the 8 ball instead of behind it.
Absolutely. Man, Jason, powerful answer.
Your answer was good.
Yeah. And in Scrum, we've identified 5 key values that you're going to need to try this stuff. And it's courage is one of them. Respect is one. Focus and commitment are others. So there's things that we know that make high performing teams. And if you embody those, you can change your whole game. Like when you're in a team with your classmates, you can see, like, if somebody's lacking focus, you're like, oh, that's somebody we're gonna have to like spend more time managing and lining out to make sure that they can deliver. But if you can just create an environment where you naturally focus, like if you just come to our magical system where everything's going to be cool and calm and the sound of my voice is just going to be so soothing.
So beautiful.
You're going to feel like you're in a Twitch live stream, like one of your friends said already in the chat. Then you're just going to be in the right state of mind, baby. And you're going to be ready to flow all the time. You're going to put in those lo-fi beats and you're just going to hit those studious moments with your peeps. It's going to be no problem at all. This is no problem, Jason. All right, it looks like we got some more questions. So who's got some good questions too? These are awesome questions, by the way. Professor Les, this class, better questions than the last class.
Yeah, well, this was a smart class that decided not to have a midterm too.
Oh my goodness, such good choices being made.
Yeah.
Can I make
But
another?
I got a question for all of you. This is related to one of the big statements I said at the beginning of the semester. And does anybody remember that? Come on, you guys, these guys have been talking about it all night long. One of the big themes I give you at the beginning of this class, because you're all introduction to construction engineering, right? Didn't we talk about it's easy to make an engineer into a manager, but it's really hard to make a manager into an engineer. So most of you will probably end up being managers eventually. And that given enough time, I could train apes to do most of the calculations they teach you, but dealing with people and respectfully treating people, and part of that is scheduling and how we handle people, and get them to do outstanding things for us is the challenge in life, right?
Yeah, baby.
People will always be the conundrum to be solved. That doing the technical stuff's easy.
Yeah, bring the people with you, because there's case studies, like we'll go to the ebfcshow.com, click on the blog. There's a construction Scrum case study. You can hear from new people fresh out of college, not even a year in, and their experimentation with that team 9x'd its productivity as compared to all other similar sized teams in the company, just using Scrum. 9x people. Let that sink in. All right, we got another question here. It looks like Miguel's thinking about coming off of mute and asking a question. He's thinking about it.
Yeah,
Sophia, any questions, Sophia, for us? What are you thinking?
I really enjoyed everything. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's our pleasure. And Nancy's got more questions. She's just trying to be shy. Nancy, you can ask another one. Come on.
11 kids.
11 kids.
I always wanted to have 6. Just
Well, I can tell you it's a lot of fun. It's just more expensive to have more. So yeah, we have a good time.
that's why I decided to come back to school.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. Andrew, you've been through 2 of these. You got nothing? What do you got?
Okay, we'll go with one question here. So what other industries can Lean, Scrum, and Tact be used?
Oh, hell, that was a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. Jason, you go first with Tact, and I'll take the Scrum one.
I don't know. Everything I can think of, Tact and Scrum apply to.
I was like, first of all, I was like, what?
Let me do something real quick. Here's a picture of my family, and you see, because can everybody see them?
Yeah.
That's my beautiful wife right there, and we got all these kids. They're 16 months on center. I tacted these kids. So this is all a tact time, and the money and the food and the clothing were all pulled to that sequence. So it applies to everything in the industry.
See, and now here's a good example, students. I needed Jason 31 years ago so that I wouldn't have my son in January, where we've already got 4 January birthdays.
Yeah. See,
I needed him to tact plan that birth.
I can only raise one child at a time, so I only have one. And when he leaves the house successfully, then I'll start the second child, because I'm on one piece flow, tiny little, no buffer right there.
Yeah, no,
Let's say,
not too much work in process.
We know that Tact is used extensively in lean manufacturing. So it's used in pharmaceutical production, automobile manufacturing. We also see it used in technology companies like Intel, your companies that do memory components for computer parts. And we're seeing Scrum in space. There are multiple companies using Scrum, household names that you would recognize, run by very eccentric billionaires that I can't name because we're recording this episode. We're also using Scrum in research, academia. We're using it in design firms. It's actually more popular in design firms, and it's spreading across construction now at greater speed and catching up very quickly. And we see Scrum in product development, including car manufacturers. I know for a fact that Scrum is used at BMW and at Toyota, and I'm happy to say that. It's also used in other places where industrial engineers are using it. I've got a friend, and Jason and I have a mutual friend, I think, who works in the supply chain logistics, and they use it there for international shipping across the ocean in container ships.
Yep.
And it's also used in like IKEA furniture stores and their product development, as well as their distribution centers. And so Scrum is in pretty much every single industry. And
that's using this for the airline industry too, with concerning how they have to schedule crews and pilots and planes and maintenance and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, the airline industry is closer to tax scheduling,
right,
than true Scrum scheduling. Yes, that's another industry where it's used. Absolutely. Also in finance, I forgot to mention Scrum is used very heavily in finance. A lot of financial companies and stock brokerage companies are using it as well. I mean, as well as software development, information technology, if I didn't mention those. That's when you do your Googling. That's where most of your hits are going to come in, but it's in all these other places as well.